because we need a lot of props to get enlightened these days. Perhaps it used to be simpler, I don't know. So tonight I've been asked to talk about enlightened living. I'd like to begin with a little chant and blessing and a kind of instant American meditation. So meditate as fast as you can. We'll get that over with. How was it? Let me start again. I'm going to begin with a little chanting and guided meditation. They're short. So just relax and let the sacred sound of this ancient yet timeless Tibetan chant wash over you and through you. Shabda, divine sound, sacred sound, massaging your chakras and channels, etc. But more in English, just relax and let go and let me meditate for you. You don't have to do anything. That's the secret of Dzogchen, the natural great perfection teachings of non-dual Tibetan Buddhism, the summit of the diamond path of Vajrayana Dzogchen, the innate great perfection about awakefulness now. And again, bowing to the Buddha in your seat, who do you think you're not? Chigmala Ama Chigmala Ma Chigmala Kapo Ami Ma Puhai Shingti Nampa Mi Homage to transcendental wisdom, Prajna Paramita, Mother of all enlightenments. May your heart, mind, and mind remain inseparable for the boundless benefit of one and all. Just sitting on the spot, on the dot, relaxed in these, just sitting, natural bodies, Buddha's body. Be kind to yourself, relax, and let go of everything, even your enlightenment project, and just be. So simple, so healing, so free. Just sitting, in short. And second, just breathing, natural breath and energy is Buddha's breath and energy. Just breathing, natural flow. Let it go. Let it come and go. That's the secret, dear friends. Letting go means letting come and go, letting be as it is. Complete acceptance and equanimity as it is, letting be. Just sitting, just breathing, and third pillar of natural meditation, Dzogchen. Just being. Natural heart mind is Buddha mind, Dharmakaya. The supreme self, the whole soul, the Buddha-ness. Incandescent presence, pure awareness, awakefulness, nowness awareness. Incandescent presence is the authentic, unfabricated, true Buddha within. We may feel far from it, but it's never far from us. When we're Buddhas by nature, we don't have to recognize who and what we are, see through momentary obscurations and realize our true self, our true nature, Buddha nature. God, Guru, and Atma is one. Buddha, Guru, and Sada, practitioner is one. Just sitting, we're just sitting, just breathing, just being, so simple. Natural meditation, incandescent presence, so free. This moment, only moment. First breath, birth breath, only breath. This breath. First moment, dream of creation, only moment. First breath, Buddha breath. How sweet it is. And again, first breath, only moment. How sweet it is. And enjoy the joy of natural meditation. Incandescent presence and fabricating authentic Buddha-ness within. You, the Buddha. Wondrous, Eureka. Yes. If the mind wanders, if the attention wavers as it does, just bring it back to breathing, to sitting and physical sensations. Just aware, mindful, rather mindless. Pure presence, natural meditation. Just a few more moments of nowness, awareness. Vivid and sweet. Be kind to yourself, let go, just be. Self-compassion. Awareness, aware of awareness, a non-dualistic compartmentalized wholeness, and whole soul wholeness, the natural great perfection, so Advaita, oneness beyond separation, unity. The natural state of things left just as they are, nirvana here now. How sweet it is. And enjoy the joy of natural meditation. May all beings everywhere, with whom we are inseparably interconnected and want and need the same as we do, may all be awakened, liberated, healed, fulfilled, and free. May there be peace and harmony in this world and throughout all possible realms of existence. And an end to war, injustice, inequality, poverty, and oppression. And may we all together complete the spiritual journey all the way to heavenly felicitude, divine bliss, liberation, freedom, and enlightenment. One family, one sangha, one satsang, one beloved community, one, through seeing through the illusion of separateness, which is the ultimate compassion, absolute compassion. Again, bowing to the Buddha in your seat, dear friends, don't overlook her. I love meditating. I've been practicing meditation since I was in college. I tried in the late 60s. But every day since 1971, when I went to India and was in my first 10-day insight meditation course in a monastery. And I think for today, yoga and meditation are the great transformative practices of Dharma in the West, Dharma in the modern world, beyond isms and schisms like Hinduism or Buddhism or any other ism. But yoga, of course, with its 8 branches, not just physical postures, and meditation, and not just sitting meditation, and not just silent meditation, but awareness cultivation in every part of life. Walking mindfully rather than mindlessly. Who can argue with that? What are the benefits of mindlessness? Mindlessness at the wheel. We have accidents. Although there's no such thing as accidents, all things have causes. Mindlessness in our life, all kinds of unforeseen consequences and unconsciousness. Sleepwalking. So, to me, enlightened living means awareness, awakefulness, and cultivating that. And bringing that into every possible act, nook, and cranny of daily life. Including sleep, may I add, like through lucid dreaming, or as we call it in Tibet for the last 1,500 years, dream yoga. Lucid dreaming, Tibetan dream yoga. It's one of the 6 yogas of Naropa in our tradition. I have teachings and CDs and things about that if you're interested. It's ancient tradition. Being aware in every part of life, being aware even while you're dreaming, awakening within the dream and knowing you're dreaming. Lucid dreaming, we call it these days in psychology. Tibetan dream yoga, there's a lot of other little techniques for that. So we can be luminous, lucid, awake, full conscious 24 hours a day. I know that sounds like a lot, and in a way it is too much. But it's better than just a couple of moments here and there in the day, if we're lucky. So the spiritual path for me is every day. Everyday life is where the rubber meets the road on the spiritual path. And that is the path of self-compassion, of being kind to ourselves. Rather than ruining ourselves, going down the path of bad habits, of delusion, of confusion, and of, as Buddha sang, looking for love in all the wrong places. I think that was Buddha. Yeah, who can remember? Looking for love or whatever we seek, even God, in all the wrong places. In extreme views and prejudices, not to mention violence. Even looking for God in all the wrong places. And I'm not here to preach about that. We all know the downside of that. And yet yoga and meditation and transformative spirituality is something else, something very inner. And inner means deeper. We say everything is within. It doesn't mean just within me, myself, and I, the 3 Jews here. No. Look deeper. It's in every moment. It's in everything. Everything is it. There's nothing that's not it. God is everywhere or nowhere. If she's not here, she ain't nowhere. Where would she be? And even here. And by the way, I want to say thank you to use of this wonderful Sivananda Ashram lineage and tradition. I was at Sivananda's ashram in Rishikesh, one of the first ashrams I was ever at in 1971 and 2. And Swami Chaitananda was there. It was a wonderful, that's where I first learned Hatha Yoga. This coming here to this island for the first time yesterday, it's so wonderful. Even from the people that picked me up and the organizers that took me in and I've been eating with and the Swamis. This is a beautiful place. This is as beautiful as any place in the world, and I go everywhere and to all the sacred places and retreats also. But the inner beauty and purity of this place far exceeds its outer beauty. And I want to really savor that and appreciate that and enjoy that and remind you of that. Not to take it for granted. The inner beauty of the spirit of seva and love and dharma, of awakening, of oneness, of belonging, of sharing and caring in this place. So beautiful. So compassionate, since that's our subject. So enlightened. An enlightened way of life. here. Free of many of the corruptions and the downsides of postmodern living in our benighted world. We all long for an enlightened world, I'm sure, but how? How are we going to get from here to truly and 100% here? That's my question to you. Not from here to there, to heaven after we die and sit at the right hand of whomever. Not from here to some foreign holy land. How are we going to get from here to truly here? Because most of the time, we're hardly present. Have you noticed? Distracted, dissociated, multitasking, not to mention intoxicated or sleepy and dozy, exhausted. How can we get from here to truly here? And that's where yoga and meditation, samadhi, and awareness cultivation comes in. And of course, compassion and action, bringing this into every part of life, seeing through the illusions of separation, so we can give of ourselves, caritas, self-giving, giving without expectation of return, caritas in Christianity, self-giving, dana paramita in Buddhism and Sanskrit, giving without strings attached, doing our duty without expecting certain results, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita. Just do your duty and leave the results to me, Krishna says. In the Tao Te Ching, the master does her best and lets go, and whatever happens, happens. We keep doing our best and letting go, and whatever happens, happens. Not waiting for enlightenment, not waiting for a better world. This is the best of all possible worlds right now, this moment. Otherwise it would be different. It's so subjective what we make of it, whether we see the 3/4 of the glass that's full or the 3/4 that's empty. That's my math. I'm a little weak on that. The Dalai Lama says, we need each other to get enlightened. Not just meditating, not just thinking about enlightenment for ourselves, not just self-growth, self-development, bordering on narcissism and selfishness. We need each other to get enlightened because we need to develop warm, empathic compassion, feeling with others, not seeing others as objects. Feeling with, empathizing, is the secret of compassion and cultivating and developing true compassion. Of course, in oneness, there is no other. That's why unconditioned, non-dual Advaita, that's why non-dual Dzogchen and its sister tradition Mahamudra, that's why Christian mysticism of Meister Eckhart and others are so profoundly and warm, luminous, radiant, heart-opening, even though it sounds like only wisdom, oneness. It's like the sun of wisdom that arises within us. Its rays naturally unfold with warm, connected, empathic action. Because when we see others as ourselves, who would we harm? Who would we exploit? Who would we abuse? Through wisdom, seeing things as they are, including self-knowledge, or seeing through the illusion of separateness, of self. And through compassion, living it out in action. Seva, dana paramita, whatever words we have, good Samaritan. Giving of ourselves, not just material, but of our time and our energy and of our heart. And following what I call the diamond rule, seeing the Buddha, the divinity, the light in everyone and everything. That's the secret of non-dual Tibetan Buddhism. Seeing the Buddha, the light, the divinity in everyone and everything. Nothing to do with Buddhism or Buddhists. Predating our founders. Timeless, now. Then natural integrity, morality, compassion, action comes forth. Just like we treat our own beloved children. We don't have to legislate it. Treat others as you would be treated. I mean, we treat ourselves like crap most of the time. So treat others as we would have our beloved child be treated. But how? That's always been my question. What are the means and techniques? So let's try to see if we can see the light, the divine, the beauty, the Buddha-ness in everyone and everything. Not just the others who are like us here in this very sattvic ashram community, but also the people on the cruise ships. Perhaps the people in the elections, we're having local elections in America this year. Perhaps the people in the elections that we don't like or disagree with. There's politics everywhere, including within our own spiritual communities or families or couples. Seeing through the illusion of separation means opening to love beyond self and other, beyond the polarities and dichotomies of like and dislike. Like and dislike is so small compared to big love, unconditioned love, Buddha's love, Jesus' love, divine love, Krishna's love. My first guru was Nim Karoli Baba. He worshipped Hanuman, the monkey god, and Ram and Sita. He taught us, as Hanuman said, when I forget who I am, Lord, I worship and serve you. When I remember who I am, Lord, I am you. That's the message of Vedanta, of Dzogchen, of Meister Eckhart's non-dual Christian mysticism. Wherever you look, in all the traditions, not just those, it's a universal message. And it's so loving and compassionate. Because when there's not two, we treat everybody as our highest self, our best self. Not with our self-destructive, low esteem habits, which pale in comparison to the true beauty within. Who doesn't love the infants and the children? The dogs. Cats? Dogs! Sorry. I have to stop at that. Our pets. What child isn't beautiful? If we treated every child like a Dalai Lama child, wouldn't this world be a better place? We have to occupy spirituality ourselves, not just wait for the 1% to do it. Treat every child in that way, as an avatar, as a special child. And this world would be a totally better place. So my practice is, I used to live in caves and practice in our Tibetan 3-year retreat system and all that, which I did twice. I was a 2-time loser, slow learner. It took me 8 years to become a Lama. Slow learner, actually 20 years, but never mind. I was counting. But the path, the journey is infinite. The journey from head to heart and beyond. Body and soulfulness, the whole soulfulness that all the traditions speak about in their own ways. So there's a lot of things I could talk about compassion, and the Buddhism teaches a lot of these, not to mention other traditions do. But I also want to leave a little time for question and answer. But I want to say a few things that you don't usually hear, you don't see in everybody's Buddhist books in English, in every book about mindfulness and loving kindness that books in English about Buddhism tend to be today. If we're talking about enlightened living in Buddhism in general, we would say the essence of it is wisdom and compassion. Transcendental wisdom, self-knowledge, spiritual realization, wisdom, which is like the inner sun that rises, and then its natural outflow in its rays of compassion and action, empathic, loving kindness, compassion, and generosity, of course, morality, and so on. But I would codify this into integrity, authenticity, and caring. Integrity, authenticity, and caring. Admittedly, these are hard words to define. I leave that for you to work on. Integrity, authenticity, and caring. Not talk about rules and vows, and there are so many, and systems, and all religions have a basic moral code. But what is authenticity really? Shakespeare says, "To thine own self be true, and thou canst not be false to any other person." But what does that mean? That's a koan, a riddle, a conundrum for us to chew on, if we're interested. Not to mention authenticity. I mean, who are we really? The question of identity. Buddhism says no separate self. Advaita Vedanta says the supreme self, Atma, one with Brahma, self one with God. But hearing those rumors don't do much for us if we don't chew on it and penetrate it ourselves somehow. Find some way to get into it, check it out, contemplate it, and rock it, make it part of ourselves. Buddhism generally talks about enlightened living in 3 ways, as compassion and action, mindfulness or awareness practice, and wisdom and love. The 3 higher trainings, from the point of view of practice, and world practitioners here of yoga and its different branches. Of course, meditation, Raja Yoga is one of them. Compassion and action, including ethics and morality and good deeds. And mindful awareness. So we're not sleepwalking through life, so we're awake Awakefulness is the whole thing. Pay attention, friends. It pays off. Attention. 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 Now. Not later. So compassion and action, or ethics, mindful awareness, and wisdom, love, or selflessness training, the 3 higher trainings. In Buddhism, if teased out, is the Eightfold Path. I have a whole book about this. I'm not going to go into this. Awakening the Buddha Within, 8 Steps to Enlightenment. The Buddhism 101. If we went further into it, I'm watching the time here. Usually I lead 1 week, 2 week, 1 month meditation retreats, so I'm feeling like I want to give you something tonight and in the next couple of days and share with you, but also hear back from you so we can explore something together, not just lecture. I also rely so much on personal transmission, or not just teachings, and your own practice, of course, your daily practice and your moment-to-moment practice in life. Because finally, each of us is healers. We have to heal ourselves. Each of us is awakeners. We have to awaken ourselves and thus awaken the world. And we have to, if we wish to, if we feel it incumbent on us, as I do. I never really felt a drop of authentic compassion until a few years ago. Although I'd been through all of the trainings and everything, and the Dalai Lama, I know that His Holiness the Dalai Lama and others had been teaching me and training me, but I was kind of like a hard nut to crack. A New York motor mind, egotistical, know-it-all, a sports jock, hard nut to crack. Not as gentle and flexible and resilient as you all, I can see from your auras. Not. But a few years ago, I actually felt one authentic drop of bodhicitta, or selfless compassion. And it came in a very surprising way. I'm not going to go into a whole story to save time, but because for the first time in my life, I sort of failed. I got broken, humiliated, I f***ed up. I got beaten down. I got my kicked. I had a bad year. My mother died. We had a scandal in my sangha. I got divorcerated. I lost my dog. And that was the worst part. I was diagnosed with an aortic aneurysm, like I'm going to die any moment if I don't lose 150 pounds. I mean, it was a bad year. But what to do? Thank God for the Dharma. Thank God for Buddhism. That's what I always say. I won't explain that if you don't get it. But Buddhism isn't about God, so it's a good joke. But never mind. Thank God for Buddhism. And all of a sudden I felt for the first time the sufferings of the world. I had never really got the sufferings of those who didn't feel like they could do anything like I did. And I had a good, solid family background and successful life. Also, a lot of spiritual advantages and good karma. I never really felt the suffering of another because I had never really been broken enough to feel what suffering and hopeless and helplessness is myself. So in that way, the Buddha's saying came true, that the enemy, the adversary, the crisis, the tragedy, the disease can be your best guru, your best teacher, because it sweeps away obstacles and obscurations. And all of a sudden, I could feel what others were feeling. It was like a siddhi compared to what I was usually like. Mr. Studded Snow Tire. Tough. Could do whatever I set my mind to. So what a blessing. It reminded me of my old ashram buddy Ram Das. We have the same guru, Nikolai Baba, who gave us our name, and Krishna Das and all the Das brothers. Ram Das had a stroke in his mid-60s and he couldn't talk for 2 years, and he's still wheelchair bound in his 80s. But he had to make peace with his guru. He said his guru stroked him. He so fought it. He kept complaining to his late Maharaja, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? He had to learn to accept the good and the bad, because we don't really know in the long run what's, not my will but thine, O Lord, it says in a good book. Maybe you've read it, I didn't. Not my will but thine, O Lord. That's what we're talking about, friends. Letting go means not suppressing, letting things come and go, letting be. That's the secret, at least of Buddhist meditation, as a path of enlightenment now, of finding nirvanic peace here and now, which is the point. Awakening now, not after many lifetimes of schlepping to enlightenment, carrying a lot of heavy Dharma books, like me. Where did all this burden come from? When are we going to get there? Somebody says, you don't need all those books. Yes, I do. They're so wonderful. Not just books, baggage, Also gurus and all the holy accoutrements. Much as I love them, and my house has more than this, and my center. But still, it's all within. These are just mirrors of your higher self, your supreme self. Don't get attached to the mirrors. The guru is the doorway to God, as it says in the Upanishad. Don't get stuck in the door. Go to God. See through the illusion of separation. Find the inner guru. My guru, Ninkaroli Baba, who turned us on to Jesus, who loved everybody. 50 years there, devotee disciples, Indians, and the hippies that just wandered in like us yesterday. Loved us all equally. Treated us all like God. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen that in this world, in this life. Not just in ancient times, maybe somebody like Jesus or Buddha did it. Wow. Today, we could be like that. We could be like that. We must be like that. I want to be like that. I'm going to be like that. Tell me, Master, how can we be like that? Because he loved us so much. This was his miracle. Not all the fancy miracles you can read about in books by Ram Dass and others. The miracle of love was that he loved us so much that when we were with him, we loved ourselves and each other in the same way. That was the real miracle. Anybody remember what Jesus said? Where two of you are gathered, and there I am, meaning in spirit. That's what it was like when I was with him. His Jesus heart, his love, his Hanuman Bhakti, his seeing the divine in me and everyone, overwhelmed my petty, narrow, little separateness, my little ego, my self-striving, New York, become something, competitive jock, ego. It was unreal, and it still is. He died, he took Mahasamadhi, or Supreme Oneness with God, in 1973 in September. I was 22 and a half years old. I didn't know what was going on in those days, being with him. But in the last few decades, with our satsang, I came to know him and his love. So I share that with you, thinking, hoping that you can find that in yourself and in your satsang and our satsang here, at home, wherever you be, wherever you go. And not long for gurus who are far away or who are dead or whatever, always thinking enlightenment is greener on the other side somewhere. Because the little Maharaj, little guru died, the Indian guru died, but my guru never died. He's always with me in my heart. The big Maharaj, the big guru, the formless, unconditioned, the big master. My master, your master, the master, beyond clubs and differences, the formless, the ultimate, which I believe is what we're called to, and is calling us. We may feel like we're running after God or seeking God, but he, she, it is seeking, calling us, and even running after us, if you want, all the time. Let's not push it away. Let's not push it away. So when things come to us that we don't like, that's an opportunity to say, thank you, Lord, and surrender our will and see if our subjective opinion and judgment about it is really true. So we can love our enemies, as a good book says. So we can realize great equanimity and one taste, as we say in Dzogchen, beyond the small dichotomies of good and bad, liking and disliking, but big love, real love. It's an overused word. There's so many different kinds of love, but we're talking about divine love. When Hanuman, who's just a monkey, tears open his heart, he finds God in there. That monkey, we're not monkey worshippers. I mean, how infantile do you think I am? I mean, not me, but there are people who are less infantile than me who worship this way. The monkey represents our animal nature. We're all descended from monkeys. There's ancient wisdom encoded in this. The monkey is like our animal nature, but when we know ourselves, we find our divine nature. Human nature is Buddha nature. I'm quoting from a Zen text, not just making this up. Human nature is Buddha nature. When you become truly you, only Zen becomes Zen. Buddha is Buddha. Not trying to imitate Buddha by his hair, by your haircut or your clothes. So when you look into yourself, when you put the animal nature in service of all of the highest, we realize that we are the highest. When Hanuman forgets who he is, he worships and serves God and all beings. When he remembers who he is God and all beings. And that is where the ultimate unconditioned compassion naturally flows from. Not just because we see others are just like us and want what we want and don't want to be harmed. Of course we work on those relative practices too. I could talk about those. Everybody talks about those. But this absolute compassion comes from seeing through the illusion of separateness and finding the divine love in ourselves and in each other. It's good to start with somebody else. Loving everyone sounds good, but many people who say that, they don't know how to love anyone, not one person. They don't love one person. If you love one person or one, creature, it's a very, very good start. It's the warm tip of the iceberg. It's not different. As it says in the Talmud, to save one's soul is to save the world. To truly love is not about quantity or who. Love is a verb, friends. God is a verb, not a thing. Love comes through loving. My own guru always used to say, Sabek, all one. See, this is a full-service ashram. You also get your Hindi lessons here. Ek, do, teen, char, panch. Ek means one. He used to say, and in a wrathful, he was very old, so he kind of talked like this. Sabek! He didn't speak English. He was an old Indian Baba. You can see him be here now in other books, The Old Man in the Blanket. Sabek! All one. And he sent us to all the saints in India. So we used to go and sit at the feet of, learn from, practice with the various saints and sages. But as soon as we could, we would gravitate back to him. And he had such a universal message, and that's the message that I feel here. Not just in this symposium, but as Swami Vishnudevananda and Swami Sivananda's very universal big vision. So important for us today, of the many faces and ways of God in harmony. And I think that's important in the wisdom and compassion I'm talking about in enlightened living. To see through the illusion of separateness from others and other traditions in our very fragmented and fractured world. I was going to tell a few stories, but we can get that tomorrow. I will stay afterwards if any of you want to ask questions. But let me open the floor now for 10 minutes of questions, because I think it's important to be a little more interactive. And many of you have questions you've been asking me as we walk around, and I'm just trying to dissolve like a salt doll into the sea of oneness. But I don't mind. My own Lama, Kalu Rinpoche, the late great Tibetan yogi, Kalu Rinpoche, who was the Dalai Lama's teacher of the 6 yogas of Tibetan Vajra energy yoga. Kalu Rinpoche nicknamed me in my 20s, in the 1970s, at his monastery in Darjeeling in the Himalayas. He nicknamed me, of course in Tibetan, the Ocean of Questions. I pass this on to you to provoke your questioning, because you asking your real question will help find you what you need and want. He nicknamed me the Ocean of Questions, and so one day I said, Rinpoche, you're so busy and you have so many real senior disciples and life and death matters that come to your attention, and Tibetan refugee situation and all. And I said, Rinpoche, do you mind me asking so many questions? And he said, ask all your questions, then one day you too will know. That was awesome. All I had ever heard from pulpits was have faith. Don't ask too many questions. Shut up. Follow along. Have I said yet? Have faith. Believe. Now for you Buddhist practitioners, one of the 5 hindrances of Buddhism is called doubt. I mean, screw that. This is the postmodern era. Yeah, I got doubt. But it's also investigation helps you find the truth. That's also part of Buddhism, one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. Investigation and questioning. Don't worry, Buddha has a lot of lists. I think he was an accountant in previous life, or oral culture. Easy to remember. So ask all your questions, investigate, and you too will know. And awaken the mind, open the heart, nourish and feed the soul. And together, we have to do this together. No one can do it alone. Believe me, I've tried. I was a monk, a real monk, in a monastery with shaved head and vows and everything, and nothing for 9 years. And I don't recommend that, but for the few people that like to go be a spiritual Olympic, fanatic, it's a possibility. Here we have a nice way of being swamis and training and rigorous and having real inner discipline as well as outer. That's very productive, without making such a big deal about it. And half of my friends died over there from these austerities, so it's not very recommended. Buddha taught what he calls the middle way, balance and moderation. I think that's very important. Not too tight, not too loose. Whereas I call lightening up while enlightening up. Not taking ourselves and our ambitions so seriously. Any questions, please?
How do you practice seated meditation?
Like I was instructing, I gave a very, fundamental, not all in a nutshell before, in the beginning. Sitting, just natural, relaxed sitting, just breathing, and just aware. There's a lot of things that are not in that, so that's actually an instruction. In other words, just breathing, not special breathing. Just sitting, not special mudras and postures, and also not straining to always be totally, still or erect. Of course, that helps if the spinal column is straight and the prana flows and all that. Blah, blah. We go into all that theory. But sitting, breathing, aware. Present awareness, not visual. I didn't mention visualizing. There's a lot I didn't say that you could find in Tibetan Buddhism, not to mention other traditions. So, essence, Mahamudra and Dzogchen meditation is based on the nowness awareness is the true Buddha. Not Buddhist Buddha, enlightenment later. But incandescent presence is the way, the truth, and the light right now. That's how we practice sitting meditation. I don't stress how long. You can also do it standing. Why not? Because it's really about this view or outlook I'm explaining. Not about crossing your legs and closing your eyes and crossing your fingers and hoping to get something. That's how I practice meditation. Sitting meditation, which was your question. The 6th patriarch of Zen of ancient China, when he was asked, what is Zen? He said something like, just being. And they said, but I thought it was sitting. He said, what does sitting have to do with being? That's just one of a million ways to do it, if you get my point. A being is so much more important than any particular action, including sitting. But sitting is a good practice, like putting your heads together is a good way to pray, although we don't have to put our hands together to pray. There are good words and prayers and tunes for prayer, but you can also pray silently, wordlessly, conceptlessly, unconditioned prayer, being in the presence of God, centering prayer, many kinds of prayer. I think Saint Kabir, who was non-sectarian interfaith, if there was any, at least of India. It was the Hindu said he was Hindu, the Muslim said he was Muslim. He said something, maybe it was Kabir, maybe it was Rumi, it doesn't matter, you've seen one, you've seen more. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. But that's the view or the spirit of Dzogchen, I'm saying. Of course, sitting cross-legged like a pyramid, like a mountain, with the spinal column, and also we use it with our eyes open, so it's very integrative in daily life. Here's a few tips. And you can read about it in my books or YouTube's podcasts, I don't know. I'm always talking. But talk is cheap. Yes, young lady.
Yes, I just wanted to know what drew you to Buddhism after sitting with your guru and not following that path and taking a different path.
Well, I don't see it as that different. I was in India and I was 22 and I went to India to find a better way of life than I found in America in the Vietnam era in the 60s and 70s, and looking for God, looking for truth, looking for peace, inner peace. So we weren't really thinking Buddhism, Hinduism, Muslim, wisdom, knowledge, freedom, integration, heart opening. So when Maharaji died in September 73, I stayed in India and went with other gurus. And I stayed there most of the 70s and 80s, so that's why. I didn't really see it as another path. Before Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sufism, there was the truth, and there was the Upanishads and the Vedas, and that's where all these practices come from. So you don't hear me talking that much because I'm a Buddhist. I'm Jewish on my parents' side, as Ram Dass always says. But Buddhist by choice and inclination, training. Maybe past lives, as Lamas tell me. I don't know. But that's a short answer. And that's also why I mentioned meditation and yoga and dharma, not isms and groups and clubs. Yes, sir.
What do you...
Good. Next question. That was epic. Hanuman is protecting me. I don't like this guy. Get rid of him. Off with his mala.
Why do you consider Dzogchen the best path?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you teach, right?
I don't teach that it's the best path. You read that in a book from some Tibetan tradition, probably. I'm relating to you straight here, man to man. I don't say that.
So why do you follow that path?
Because it's absolutely the best path. For me. Isn't that obvious? There are so many best paths. What am I, stupid? Also, I tried following everybody else's path. It didn't work. It's like, I would love to wear those fancy Italian shirts and Italian shoes, but they're way too narrow. Shoes have to fit your feet so you can walk and be happy, not limp.
So what is it about the path that you...
I don't know. I think probably because I studied with the different teachers and gurus and checked stuff out and went around for a few decades, and I don't know. There was just bad karma. Just fell right into this thing.
So you're just going to skirt the...
No, I gave you a lot of answer. I don't know. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Of course I think it's very effective and doable and practicable, and that's why I teach it. It doesn't need a lot of decades of study and visualizations and mantras and very complicated spiritual technologies as some other forms of Tibetan Buddhism. Other questions, please. Time is almost up. Hi.
Okay. We all were so hearing you when you said, illusion of separation and we're all one, and it sounds great to love everyone,
but
right?
how?
But
right.
then, I'm at a faculty meeting and a colleague is behaving badly and I hate their guts. So, etc.
Are you a professor or something?
I am.
Then forget it. You have to think about the next life.
Okay, but for the rest of
Just
them.
joking. So I said the same thing last week. Somebody said they were from New Jersey. I said, forget it. God's not there, you know. We don't know which exit he's at. No, but that's the human condition. That's what we have to see through. That's the little dichotomies and polarities of like and dislike. That's our conditioning. Nature and nurture. That's just conditioning. Is there nothing else we can see?
But what's the first little step that?
The first little step
Yeah.
is to question it like you're doing and say, you know, I hate their guts, and every message in the spiritual realm tells me about love your enemy or something. So there must be some gap here to deal with, cross or close or see through, you know. So I wrote a whole book about this. My recent book, it's called Make Me One with Everything. Buddhist Meditations to Awaken from the Illusion of Separateness. About co-meditation, intermeditation, doing it together, seeing through the illusion of separateness in every part of life. So, let me give you an example. I don't know, you're a professor. We won't talk about that anymore, it's too embarrassing. If you have children, I'm just joking. I live near Cambridge, Massachusetts, so it's a common condition. Do you have a pet?
No.
Come on, work with me. Do you know anybody? Do you have a mother, a brother, a sister, a neighbor, a roommate, a male person?
Lots of other, yeah. I have a,
Do you have somebody you really like?
Yes.
Okay. Him, her, or it?
It's my boyfriend.
Oh, good. Okay. Now we got something to work on. So, does him, her, or it always do what you like?
No.
I'm shocked. But how do you deal with that? Sometimes you get mad at him, or you say, I hate that, I hate you, you know, whatever. The feeling comes up, you might not say it. But you still love him. Love is bigger than like and dislike. That's all I'm saying. Try to check out that side. If you have children, you will have the wonderful experience of them, or if you're play Santa on Christmas, of them peeing on you, pooping on you, shitting on you, coughing, slobbering on you, sputum, spitting on you. Yes? Do you like that? Do you hate it? Pretty much. When they're up all night, when they puke on you, do you like that? No. But do you still love them? I don't need you. Yes! Love is so much bigger than the little polarities, dichotomies of like and dislike. Try to look into that. Of course you hate your, whatever, competitive, egotistical, proud faculty colleagues, but guess what? They are us. They are you. So you gotta love it. Otherwise you don't love yourself, and there's no way. You don't love the dark sides of yourself, and there's just no way. In closing, I just want to say, I feel that my mind is not the best neighborhood for me to live in. And that's where a lot of these things most are taking place. It's so subjective. I mean, Buddhist thinking about the void and emptiness, sunyata is subjective. Everything is subjective. It's empty of true validity. So then you get a little more playing within the dream, more playfully. It doesn't mean nothing matters. Thank you all. I do love you.